All right, now with there not being a lot of true crime news today, because obviously yesterday was Sunday, we'll have more updates on the Delphi trial tomorrow. Guys, what I want to talk about is just the community in general. I want to kind of, I'm not going to be a dickhead to everybody. I'm not going to do the snack cake thing. I mean, maybe a little bit. But what I want to talk about is confirmation bias. I want to talk about how usually there's two different groups, two different extremes that are in this community. And most people, when you hear them talk, whether in the comment section or on YouTube, it's one or the other. Usually everybody's either guilty or everybody's not guilty. Do you see the point? Anyways, I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime Time. Let's get into it. Let's do it. Bring it back. What's going on, everybody? As you guys know, I'm JB Gunner, and this is Crime Time. Now, before we get started with this, this is going to be a shorter video today. Let me say thank you to everybody that supports the channel. Hell, any of my channels, regardless of platform, regardless of method you choose, whether it's Cash App, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal. Truth is, guys, I couldn't do this each and every day as often as I do on all these different channels for the last 18 years if it wasn't for you. The Gun Squad, I love you guys, man. Thank you so much for all your support. You guys are what makes this thing go. And if you too find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel, man. Join the Gun Squad today. You can also find the links to some other content. You may want to check that out if you're not a snowflake type motherfucker. You know what I'm saying. You know the election's coming tomorrow, so Llama, I'm pissing a lot of y'all off. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this. I don't want to make this a big thing. I just kind of want to talk about something that I see being an issue in the true crime community, right? And I think a lot of you guys see it. It reminds me of like a sports team or even politics, right? For instance, in politics, you ever notice and have you ever wondered why all Republicans and all Democrats think the exact same way on every issue almost? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, for instance, let's think of a Democrat platform or think of a Republican platform. Everybody pretty much checks the same box, blue or red, right? And there's usually no wiggle room in there. Like, there's not too many Republicans, with liberal positions on something. There's not too many liberals that with conservative positions on something. And I feel like in the true crime community, we have that very same thing. You're either a guilter and for the most part a bootlicker of the police, and every single one of these cases, you just find the suspect guilty every single time, or you're on the exact opposite of that. You're suspicious of everything. You blame the cops for everything, and usually everybody's innocent. And you can usually, it's not that hard to notice. If you look at YouTubers, you see it. For Gray Hughes, this dummy thinks everybody is guilty and that the police and the prosecution is always right every single time, no exceptions. And if you don't believe me, I ask you, can you name me one case where Gray Hughes was suspicious about the police? Gray Hughes in every single case takes the prosecution side. But then again, there's also YouTubers on the exact opposite. You take people like Harsh, or maybe even, Harsh is good, I like Harsh, but you take Ravioli, or you take anybody, that bald bitch I don't like. You take any of these people that are consistently truth and transparency. These people are consistently questioning all the cases, and for the most part, everybody's innocent. Like, my question to you is, you realize that you can think that Bryan Kohberger's innocent and Richard Allen's guilty, right? Or it could be vice versa. Maybe you think Richard Allen's innocent, but you think Bryan Kohberger's guilty. When it comes to these major cases, it exposes a lot of people for their confirmation bias. That's why a lot of these people, they don't check. When presented facts, a lot of these people do not change their positions. With the Richard Allen case, I went back and forth because the Richard Allen case is wild. Delphi, Indiana, that's a wild case. Bryan Kohberger, I've been pretty much pro Kohberger the entire time. Do I recognize Bryan Kohberger could have killed them? Yes. Do I recognize Richard Allen could be innocent? Yes. But my official position is that I'm not sure what happened in Idaho. I do not necessarily think Bryan Kohberger did it, and I definitely don't think they have enough evidence to convict Bryan Kohberger. My official position in Delphi is I do believe that Richard Allen did it, but I do not believe they have enough evidence. In all reality, the Delphi case was bungled more than anybody. We don't even know if the Idaho 4 case was bungled. The Idaho 4 case may have been a perfect case for law enforcement. We don't know that yet. What I do know is that I've been proven right that the PCAs in all these cases typically have everything that the state and prosecution has. You guys challenged me on that for a long time, and I'm being proven right as each of these cases happened. You didn't find out anything crazy in the Leilani Simon trial that wasn't in the PCA. You're not finding anything crazy that wasn't in the PCA in the Delphi, Indiana Richard Allen case. So logic says when the Bryan Kohberger case comes around, it's going to be the exact same way. You're not going to see any secret shit that the prosecution has on Bryan Kohberger. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Because I want to reach out to you guys to, I guess, try to get you guys to think outside the box, just like a lot of you do with the cases anyway. But don't have such confirmation bias that you're not willing to look at new facts. A lot of you people make things up. And I'll give you the perfect example. The Delphi case, Richard Allen. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you some numbers here in a minute that actually will help you guys. But for me, for instance, Richard Allen in the Delphi case, when you're talking about the white van or a van in general, you know, what you'll get is you'll get people say, oh, man, they told him that. And they'll say it with such definitive, as if they know it to be fact. And I think you get this a lot in these cases. A lot of the people on the internet, a lot of the people in the comments section, they discuss shit as if they already know it's a fact. They planted the knife sheath, JB. Well, how do you know? I just know. You see how dumb that is? You see what I'm saying? Richard Allen. They told him about that van. They planted that in his brain. Let me explain something to you, okay? We're going to talk about the confession here in a minute. You do understand it's okay to be wrong in these cases, right? It is okay to change your position. Even I have changed my position on little things in the past because when information, or maybe you get a chance to think about it enough, like you don't have to just say, no, Richard Allen is innocent forever. If the 63 confessions didn't change your mind a little bit, like we live in a world now where if somebody tells you they did something, you're like, I don't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, this is the type of world we live in now. If Bryan Kohberger came out tomorrow and said, I killed them 4 kids, I'd say, you know what? That motherfucker's probably telling the truth then. Even though this whole time I've said he was probably innocent. Because I believe, look, man, is it possible there was a false confession in Delphi? Yeah, and we'll take a look at that here in just a second. But what's more likely? The likely scenario is that Richard Allen confessed because he did it. And I'm going to explain to you why right now. You can sit and point out numbers, and I will point them out to you as well. But let me tell you something when it comes to interrogations and false confessions. Most false confessions, and you guys say in the comments yourself, is that when it comes to, unethical interrogation methods, that sometimes it causes false confessions, and I agree with you. And actually it does, a lot more than I thought. I'm going to show you the numbers here in a second. But here's what it doesn't cause. Interrogation methods does not cause you to then get on the phone 60 times and confess to your mom, to your wife, or any of that. Do you see my point? So even if you're getting interrogated and it's fucking with you and it's bothering you and you're like, fuck it, I did it. The likelihood of you doing that same thing, making them same false confessions to your mother and or wife, the only people left in the world that you have is very unlikely. So most false confessions, when you look at it, those confessions come to a police officer or an interrogator or a detective. Most of those false confessions doesn't go outside of that to your parents, to your wife. And if you really think hard enough and you don't have confirmation bias, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. It makes the logic that you guys are presenting, the false confession, blah, 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 fine. He was under pressure and he made a false confession to the interrogator or the detective. But you still have not convinced me, you still have not given me a reason why he made the same false confessions, if they're false, to his mother and wife. Now, a lot of you will be like, because they made him, JB. That's not how jail works. That's not how prison works. And so many of you guys are so ignorant of that. So many of you are so ignorant of that. Who made Richard Allen tell his mom? Who made Richard Allen confess to his wife and mother? And you don't have an answer to that because it doesn't exist, or at least to our knowledge. Any answer you give to that, you're just making something up. If you give me a reason why Richard Allen confessed to his mother and his wife, other than the fact that he did it, you're just making it up. Any other reason that you have, you just made up right here, right now. And you know I'm telling the truth because there is no documentation, there is no nothing. There is nothing. Nothing. There's no evidence saying that he was forced to confess on the phone, private phone calls to those people. You're just making it up. I'll give you the interrogator. I will give you the detective. I'll give you the police if that's what you want. But I pretty much live by the creed that if somebody Occam's razor is legit. If someone tells me they killed someone, they probably did, especially if they're being charged for the fucking murder. Do you see my point? Now, that doesn't mean I think that the state did good in this case at all. I think that they don't even have enough evidence to convict him. And I believe that the jury should probably throw out the confessions, but they won't. There's so much emotions is running in this case because of the two little girls. I think the jury will convict him. I do. And that's crazy because I don't think they should. But let me show you guys something. And this will back up what you guys say a lot. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how often false confessions actually happen. The percentage of false confessions varies depending on the source, but is generally thought to be between 12% and 33.4%. That's kind of a wide margin, right? 15% of all documented exonerations in the U.S. and 25% of homicide cases. So there actually is quite a bit of false confessions. False confessions can be caused by a number of factors: sleep deprivation, coercive interrogation tactics, which we agree that could have been the case, misidentification, official profile, widespread crime schemes. There's a lot of false false confessions. They say 25%. While the notion that someone would confess to a crime he or she did not commit may seem counterintuitive to casual observers, the reality is that false confessions occur regularly. According to the Innocence Project, of the 258 DNA exonerations they have handled to date, 25% have involved a false confession. Now, that does show that false confessions do happen quite regularly, and I'll give you that, 100%. I will give you that. However, my position is that's with the interrogator. You still have not explained why he would then go confess to his mother and wife, especially if he didn't do it. Guys, here's the truth about convictions. We all know federal defendants, around 90% of them are found guilty. This is not a federal case. Federal prosecutors claim a conviction rate of 95%, but it's because most cases don't go to trial. Felony defendants. Now, this is not federal. 68% of defendants charged with a felony were convicted. Felony conviction rates were highest for defendants charged with motor vehicle theft and murder, 70%. So 70% of all murder cases, defendants get convicted. This isn't federal, so we ain't got to worry about that. Now, here's the truth about murder. Only about 50%, less than 50% of all murders get solved. Now, there is a number here that's interesting, right? 4 to 6% of people incarcerated in the United States are actually innocent, is what they're claiming. 4 to 6%. Okay. So now that we understand this, we understand that a good number of these cases are 70% of all murders cases that go to trial are found guilty. When it comes to confessions, there's a lot of people in prison for false confessions. Murder, they said 25%. And I think a lot of this happens is because I think that when you sign a plea bargain, that's essentially a confession. I don't know if you guys know this, but when you sign a plea bargain, the judge has to accept your plea bargain. And what usually happens when you go and to your hearing and you sign the plea, you then have to confess the crime. So a lot of you people that's saying, well, confessions are a real thing, false confessions are a real thing, they are, but I think those numbers are skewed a little bit because you have to realize that anytime you sign a plea bargain, that will then involve a confession. Because in order usually for a judge to accept your plea bargain, you have to admit to the crime. Because that's what you're doing when you're signing a plea bargain. You're pleading guilty. And so when you're pleading guilty, the judge is going to have you literally on mic, on air, or on, on the record, admit your guilt. Technically, that counts as a confession. So I don't like these numbers because in all reality, any plea bargain is a confession. So the question really then is, how many of these confessions are false? So does the numbers count that if someone signed a plea and then later was found out not to be guilty, is that what we count as a false confession? It sounds to me like that's what we're counting. And I think that's way different than what most of you guys are looking at with this. Here's the truth. When it comes to Richard Allen, I think the likely scenario is he did it. Why? Because he told us he did it. He told his mom. He told his wife. Is it possible there's a false confession to everybody? Sure, but it's not likely at all. Occam's razor, man. And for a lot of you people, I just want to say this. A lot of you, like I said, you think everyone's innocent. Either there's a group that thinks everybody's innocent or everyone's guilty. You know what I'm saying? So for a lot of you people, Bryan Kohberger, Ian Ryan, and Delphi, Richard Allen, are both innocent, and nothing will change your mind. And I guarantee you, a lot of you people probably thought other motherfuckers were innocent too. And I guarantee you, on most cases going forward, you're going to say, no, that was police misconduct. There's a conspiracy. They're innocent. And I want you to think about yourself and think about it. Think about all the cases you talk about. Most of the time, if you believe they're innocent, don't you? And I get it, innocent until proven guilty. But what I mean is a lot of you people never change your position. And so if you wonder if I'm talking about you, ask yourself. If you already think Richard Allen and Bryan Kohberger is innocent, then you're probably already on that path. So now think about other cases. You thought they were innocent too, didn't you? And the same thing goes for the guilters. You just believe the prosecution, you believe the police, you believe the DA. So I guarantee you a lot of the people that believe Richard Allen is guilty also believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty. A lot of people that believe they're innocent, I wonder how many people are just like me. They say, one's guilty, one's not. You see what I'm saying? Because I think that shows which people think outside, who have an open mind to things, right? and that you don't have to be right all the time. And it's not two sides. I feel like the guilter side and the non-guilter side is like, it literally is like Republicans and Democrats. And I think that it destroys the entire community because, listen, there's people that follow me. You know how many times I got called a moron in the comment section on my last video? All because you didn't agree with me about the van. JB always thought you were smarter than this. You're a moron. Yeah. Notice how people say that whenever you finally say something they don't agree with. Let me tell you something, David. Let me tell you something, whoever. Maybe you're the goddamn moron. Did you ever wonder why you think everyone else is the stupid one and somehow you're the genius? You're the one that's right all the time, and everybody else that doesn't think along the same lines as you is a goddamn moron. Yeah, I'm the moron, you're not. But people pay me for my opinion. No one pays you for yours. Gee, I wonder who's the moron and who's not. Anyway, look, man, my entire point here is very simple. At the end of the day, you know, everybody's going to have their positions. Just don't be afraid to change them, man. It's okay to believe Bryan Kohberger is innocent and Richard Allen's guilty, or vice versa. And it's also okay to believe neither one of them are, or that both of them are. Everybody can have their own viewpoint on this. And the only people that's dumb, truly in this situation, are the people that refuse to reconsider once facts are presented. If you took a position in the beginning and you stood your ground, I'm never changing this position, you're probably a dummy. And if you're one of these people making up shit just to fit your narrative, you're a liar and a dummy. Or a moron. Guys, let me know what you think. I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime Time. Just my take on the true crime community in a whole. I think that it's divided. I think it's a tale of two extremes. The guilters are always going to say guilty. They're extremists on that side. And a lot of the conspiracy theorists, and they're going to believe it's the cops doing it every time. They're going to believe there's tunnels in every case. Right or wrong? Which side do you land on? Do you land on one of those sides? Or are you the type of human being that realizes that each case is different, man? You got to notice your own patterns. And if you catch yourself in every case saying, not guilty, no, man, they're covering it up, then you're probably a little retarded. And the same thing vice versa. If everything you're like, oh, the police said he's guilty, then you're a bootlicker. Then you too are also retarded. Because cops lie all the time. Courts and the state lie. Governments lie all the time. Worst words you want to hear in your life is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. True story. Guys, if you like what I do here and you find my content valuable, feel free to hit the links down below. Support the channel. I'm JB Gunner. This is Crime Time. Let me know what you think about all this, man. I will see you guys tomorrow when we actually have some news. Peace out.